This was, by far, the hardest unrigging I have ever had to do. And I've done about 10 of these so far on my channel, maybe more, who knows. But this video was supposed to come out ages ago, and I just now figured out what I was even doing with it literally yesterday. So I have been trying. I feel like I'm Doctor Strange. I'm seeing all the branching universes. All of the multiverse is within my grasp. And finally, I have found the branching timeline that makes the most sense and has left me the most satisfied with the results. It's so hard when, like, everything changes so much and then you're like, I don't even know where to go from here. And I don't want to be doing these videos like just guessing. So it's been hard. I've gotten a lot of guidance from a lot of people. So thank you for anyone who I sent my my track record sheets to. But we're here, and we're going to unrig Drag Race Season 15. There was a moment in the season, which I'll talk about later when we get there, of like divergence, where the first half of the season were like good to go. Like no issues, no problems, everything stayed consistent, cool. But then we get into like a billion branching timelines. I'm confident with what we have today. I've been sitting with it, and I think that I'm ready to finally show the world what the season would have looked like if it was not rigged by production. And to all of the Sasha Colby haters out there, I don't think you're going to like this video. So let's dive right on in to Season 15. Episode 1/2. So I decided to add another extra bottom and top placement so that there were 4 highs and 4 lows. They did this on season 11 when they had 15 people, and I think they should have done it again here with 16. I mean, it just kind of lets everyone get to know the queens a little bit better, more of the queens a little bit better right off the bat, gives them a moment to get some critique. And I think it just makes the episode a little bit better, seeing at close to a half. I guess in this case it is half. The queens get critiqued. So I decided to do that. Finding those placements was not very hard. I think it was pretty obvious who was like super close to the top or like super close to the bottom. So looking at the placements here, nothing from the actual episode changes. Anetra obviously won. Jax and Marcia were both amazing, definitely worthy of top placements. And then the bottom 3 stays the same as well, with Loosey LaDuca in the low placement and Amethyst and Irene Dubois in the bottom 2. This is one of those, like, I wish I found one of those timelines that Irene Dubois survives this episode, but that doesn't exist, unfortunately. So for the extra placements, I did decide on putting Salina in the top and Aura Mayari in the bottom. Aura, I mean, it sucks. She had I think it was an ankle injury or maybe a knee, some kind of leg injury right before she left for the show. So she was not able to perform to the best of her ability on the show when it came to like dancing and performance challenges. So, I mean, she does a performance to Kill This Love by Blackpink. And unfortunately, when you're just dancing to a song, if the artist who is like done that song already is known for their like intense choreo like Blackpink and their like intense like music videos and visuals that they put out, like you kind of have to match that or it just feels a little small. So I think that that's kind of what held this performance back. Like Aura didn't necessarily do anything wrong, it just felt really small. And I mean, in this talent show, I think there were a lot of queens who played it very safe. Like they just did what was expected, things that we've seen before, nothing new, nothing exciting. And basically, outside of the top 3, there was nothing, like, new that we saw. Oh, I guess some of the bottoms were new, but new in a bad way. We haven't seen Ice Water before, so I'll give Irene that. I'll definitely give her that. But, yeah, so someone like Aura, who just did what seemed like the bare minimum, I think that is warrant enough to put her into the bottom 4. And then for the top spot, I was between Sasha Colby, Salina Estitties, and Spice. Spice, I think, had a really, really funny performance, but I think it relied more on the song than her actual performance, whereas Sasha Colby and Salina, there were more, the things that were great about the performance was more about their performing ability. And then choosing between Sasha and Salina, it's just, I think Sasha had a really fun concept, but I didn't understand what she was trying to say until she explained it, on Twitter or wherever she talked about it. Whereas like Salina, I think did a really great job of introducing herself, introducing her drag, showing that she's a great performer and a dynamic performer. So I think that warranted her this fourth imaginary top placement that doesn't exist, but in this video I'm giving one out. So that is my reasoning for this. We move on to episode 3, which is the All Queens Go to Heaven commercial challenge. I honestly just disagreed with how this episode was judged. They kind of just picked from random groups, whatever. I think that Team Anetra, which had Anetra, Sasha Colby, Marcia Marcia Marcia, Luxx, Noir London, and Salina Estitties, like they were very, very clearly the top group. I think that they were very clearly the best when it came to concept, when it came to their comedic ability and comedic timing. Like, everything worked. They all did a fantastic job. I think you very just simply put them all in the top and say you're the winning team. Sasha Colby, you won this week's challenge. You all go off the stage. Great. Have a great life. Like, I think that that's what should have happened. And then the rest of the queens just get critiqued. That would have made, for some of these queens who we don't really see get critiques early on, be able to get some early on in the competition. Who knows if that helps them or not further on, but it's just, I think this just makes more sense. So everyone is going to be getting critiqued from the other two groups. If that's too many people, then Ru can send off a couple more and say you're safe, whatever. But I think the bottom 3 stays consistent as well. These first couple of episodes really don't have much riggery, especially when it comes to the bottoms. So Jax, I think, was trying to be team leader, and because they were spending so much time leading, they didn't spend much time giving themselves anything to actually do in the commercial. So she's just completely faded into the background. But Amethyst and Princess Poppy, their jokes just didn't land. Their comedic timing was just a little bit off. And I think they were clearly the bottom 2. They lip-synced to Ain't No Mountain High Enough, and I mean, I think some people do like Poppy's performance better than Amethyst's. It's definitely taking bigger risks. It's doing something different. But when it came to the song, I think Amethyst embodied the song. Even if it wasn't the most, thrilling lip sync I've ever seen in my life, I still think Amethyst did what needed to be done. And I understand why Princess Poppy went home. So I don't think that was rigged. Princess Poppy, unfortunately, is the second out. And we move on to the Snatch Game, where I'm not changing literally anything. Like, these first 3 episodes had no riggery at all. And then the next episode onward is just chaos. But I think that these were fine. I think Loosey LaDuca was the clear winner. I think Mistress and Marcia were, worthy of being in the top. I did make a little change because I think Marcia's runway this episode, I mean, this is what I would have given the Golden Boot to on this season, honestly. I think that her and Amethyst both did a really good job in the Snatch Game. But then Amethyst also had a really, really fun runway, kind of recreating the paparazzi VMA performance by Lady Gaga, which I think was the perfect concept for a Beautiful Nightmare runway. So I put Amethyst in the top over Marcia. And this isn't, I guess it's kind of that line in these videos where it's is it rigged that Marcia was in the top? No, I don't think it was rigged. Do I think that Amethyst might have deserved it a little bit more? Yeah, so that's why I'm making this decision here. Amethyst, especially with her storyline of after episode 2 feeling if I can't do comedy, then what am I going to be able to do? Comedy is what I am known for, and I'm not, making it work like I know that I can. And then this episode, she really knocked it out of the park playing Tan Mom, which was, I think, a really hard character to try and do. So I think it, for storyline purposes, would have been a great moment. I think it was also just deserved. So that's the one change I made in this episode. And then we look at our bottom 3. I think it was very fair. I know that people thought Aura Mayari should have been in the bottom, but with that runway, I don't think. Especially because, all 3 of them were horrible. Sugar Spice and Aura in the Snatch Game. They were all bad. I think it was equally bad. I think they were all very equally terrible. And then you have to look at the runway to break the tie. Aura's runway was my favorite runway of this entire episode. So I think that is enough to keep her from the bottom 2. And the twins lip sync against each other. And Sugar goes home because she eats shit twice in the lip sync. So I really didn't have any issues there. But the issues will now be proceeding as we go into episode 4, or I guess 5, the design challenge. That's when they get the little like hotel rooms that are inspired by Michelle Carson and Ross, and they have to make looks from the materials from that room. Now, one thing I think we all can agree on, every single human on this entire planet can agree on, Luxx Noir London won this episode. Like, fully won this episode. This episode is weird because I talked about it in my Riggery video. They pull the thing where they want everyone at this point to be critiqued. It's episode 5. If you haven't gotten critiqued yet, you need to get critiqued. So they throw Robin in the top, they throw Malaysia in the top, they throw Salina in the bottom. And it's just to make sure that everyone at this point has gotten that time on the main stage to get critiqued. I think Robin and Malaysia were both very, very safe. I honestly, this is an episode where I really went back and forth. I think I switched placements a lot. This episode was hard because there was no flops. Like, even Amethyst, who I think was the worst of this challenge, like, this could have been safe on another design challenge. You know what I mean? Like, usually there's 2 or 3 looks that are just like, ugh, boogers, like, horrible. There really wasn't any in this challenge. So you're looking at very, very small details. And that's how queens like Salina end up in the bottom. So focusing on the top, I think that Robin Fierce's look was fine, but I think that Mistress Isabel Brooks was better. I think Mistress should have been in the top in this episode, and I put her there. I think Sasha Colby's top placement was fully deserved. So that's what I think the top 3 should have been. For the bottom 3, there was a couple looks that just switched placements a lot. Amethyst always bottom 2 for me. That was consistent. But I mean, Aura Mayari, Spice, Malaysia Baby Doll Fox, and Salina Estitties, I think all shifted. Jax was the original bottom 3 placement here, and I think that was completely rigged. Jax looked great. And then these other 4, like, it's hard. Like, I think Malaysia, for it being her first look she's ever made, it looks amazing, but just from, like, the styling and things like that, I just think it looks off. Salina's, I think, is so much fun. I think she took a big swing. I think it did pay off. I think that she made a lot of pieces and put a lot of work in. But are there some fit issues? Yes. And then Spice, there's nothing. You know what I mean? It's like, if a big girl wore this, she would be going home. Like, she would be literally like, you're out the door by. Everyone would say golden boot, like, worst look of the night, because there's nothing. Does she look good? Or is she just skinny? Like, is this a good look or is she just skinny? That is what I think this is. But at the same time, it's branded. I mean, it looks like something Spice would wear. It's very her Y2K aesthetic. So it's like, can I really put that in the bottom? And then Aura Mayari, who I did end up putting in the bottom 2 here. I think the styling is great. The jewelry, the glasses, the hair, all of those things look great. And when you look at the photo in her photo shoot that she posted on Instagram, the look looks great. But looking at the look on the actual runway, it just looks kind of, like the straps of the top look weird. The bottom just looks very kind of haphazardly put together. I think that the styling kind of saves it, but just looking at what she created, I don't think it was enough, and I don't think that it was polished. And that's kind of the biggest knock, is like neither of those things are this look. Salina, I think she did enough. It wasn't super polished. Spice, I don't think she did enough, but it was polished. Aura is neither. So that is why I did put her in the bottom 2. But this is an episode where I think everyone will have a different opinion, because there's no obvious placements. Like, there's no, like, clear, obvious bottom 2. So it comes down to personal preference on, like, what you think should happen there. So I wouldn't be shocked if many of you were like, what? How is Aura in the bottom 2? Or like, what? How is Salina low? Like, yeah, this one was a hard one. But if we have Aura Mayari and Amethyst in the bottom 2 to Queen, one, we're getting robbed of Salina's lip sync to the song, which was incredible. And I think even with Aura's injuries, I think she would be able to serve on this song a little bit more than Amethyst did. I think Amethyst was definitely defeated at this point. And with such a, like, fierce, like, women empowerment, like, badass bitch song, you need that energy to go with it. Salina had that energy. Amethyst did not have that energy. I think Aura would have that energy at this point in the competition. So I think that Amethyst goes home here regardless. And we move on to the Girl Groups Challenge, which I think was the most rigged episode of the entire season. It's when they're old ladies, the iconic Metalgate moment. I think the way this was judged was nuts. Like, absolutely nuts. Aura gets the win. Jax gets thrown in the bottom two. There's just a lot going on here. So what I think would have been the fairest is to put the best from each group in the top. Because there was a clear best in each group. Sasha, Mistress, and Loosey LaDuca. This wasn't a moment where, like, one group was, like, miles ahead of everyone else. Like, I think that the country group was the best, but Loosey also did a great job. Sasha did a great job. Aura did a great job in other groups. So it wasn't like there was a clear, this group was good and this group sucked, like in the UK. So I think it makes sense to kind of just pick from the best of each. And then for the worst of each, I mean, I said this in my rigor video, Anetra was the worst of this episode by far. Like, by far. And she was not in the bottom two. I think she should have been bottom two with Robin. They both had the most mistakes when it came to the episode. Both of them did not perform as if they were old ladies. They were just performing like they were Robin Fierce and Anetra, dipping and splitting and like all of these things. It's like, okay, are we old ladies or are we not? Because it's giving regular Anetra performance. And then on top of that, Anetra missed her lyrics on the song. She also had the worst runway. Oh, her and Jax both had bad runways this episode, but Anetra's was not good whatsoever. I think Anetra and Robin Fierce bottom two was very clear. I think Jax was safe as fuck, to be honest. I think she did a pretty good job in her performance. I think Spice also really struggled. Spice was giving Spice. Like, she was not giving old lady. Her makeup, I mean, I'm sure that she doesn't have a ton of experience, you know, with old lady drag, but I'm sure many of these queens don't. So that's not really an excuse when everyone else looks great, and Spice's makeup looks absolutely insane. So I think Spice was a solid low in this episode. I could see why people would want her to be bottom two, but I still think Anetra and Robin made more mistakes in their performance than Spice did. Spice's like overall vibe was like, this is not an old lady, but Anetra and Robin were like the tricks just did it for it. Was like, why are we doing tricks when we're supposed to be elderly women? So that's kind of my reasoning there. And we have an In My Room lip sync, one of my favorite lip syncs of the season, one of my favorite songs they've done for lip sync. Anetra versus Robin. Robin did a lovely job, but I think Anetra could do better. The one issue I do have that makes me a little bit like, is Anetra sometimes struggles with connecting to the song. She's an amazing performer, obviously, an amazing dancer, but when you're looking at her face, there's not a connection to the song like when someone like Mistress or someone like Sasha or someone like Jax is performing. So that's where I think Robin might like push ahead a little bit, but I still think Anetra would outperform Robin. So I think Robin Fierce goes home regardless. And we move on to the Daytona Wins 2, one of my favorite episodes, one of my favorite challenges of the season. There's not a ton of riggery in this episode. I did decide to give the double win to Mistress and Malaysia because, I mean, in this version, Malaysia hasn't even been, like, she's been safe for 5 episodes straight. And she knocked this episode out of the park with the runway, with the performance. Like, this was Malaysia's moment. Mistress also did an amazing job, and I think that they both succeeded because they were playing off of each other, their characters. So it was one of those moments where a double win really would have made sense. I mean, not even factoring in their storyline, which was like at an all-time high. I mean, I think that was just like the perfect moment to do a double win, and I'm kind of surprised they didn't. And then Anetra and Marcia also were like scene partners. They both were really funny in their scene. Makes sense why they're in the top. For the bottoms, the bottom two I don't think changes. Jax didn't have much to do from what we saw. We do know that there was things cut from the final like product of this challenge. So maybe she had more, but from what we saw, she was just kind of flat. And I mean, Aura struggled hardcore in this episode, so her being bottom 2 makes sense as well. I do think that Spice didn't deserve to be low. I think Luxx deserved it a little bit more. Luxx only had 2 lines, and one of them was delivered very weird.
There's something wrong, darling!
And she's in this, like, duo performance with Sasha, and unfortunately she gets overshadowed by Sasha the entire time. Whereas Spice definitely struggled on set with, you know, giving enough energy and getting her lines right and all of that. In the final product, she's fine. Like, she's not amazing. She's not, like, cringe. She's not bad. She's right in the middle, safe. Yeah, for me, this was Luxx's, like, first kind of slip. It wasn't even a bad slip. It was just enough that I think she deserved a low placement. And now we go to the nexus point of the season, the lip sync Lollapalooza. If you guys knew how many times I ran through this, I have pages and pages of notes just going through and changing one thing, and then this whole thing changes, and then changing this different thing, and then this all changes. Insane. This episode drove me mad. Literally drove me insane. And I had to step away. So I was like, let's do an All-Stars 8 video instead. Then we came back. And I think I figured it out. I Sasha Belled it. I cracked the code of the Lollapalooza. I wanted to do anything I could to get rid of that final twist where we end up with a bottom 3 and someone gets saved. Because I just think it was, like, unnecessary. It screamed riggery. It screamed, this is just, you know, here for a good TV moment. We need to get rid of that. How do we get rid of that? I did all kinds of stuff, like a double save, or like both you people are safe, or like this and this. You'll see what I came up with. I feel like it makes the most sense to make this episode feel authentic and not just like a stunt, which is what it kind of ended up feeling like. We can go through it. So, where's my notes at? Where is my note? Okay. I have to like look at these notes because there's like 5,000 things on this page and I have to find the right one, but okay, we're good. So the first lip sync of the night, and watch the riggery video and watch this whole section because I have so many thoughts on how rigged this was, and there's not much I can really change about it. Like, I think that the balls that they chose were for sure staged, but it's not like I can just like randomize it myself because who knows what the fuck is going to happen then. So there's just some riggery that's just going to have to stay, and the order that they get chosen is one of those things. So Malaysia gets picked. She chooses Marcia to lip sync against. They lip sync to Boys Don't Cry, and I think it was clear that Marcia won that. No riggery. Next up is Loosey and Spice, and Loosey wins. They're lip syncing to Don't You Want to Touch Me, and Loosey wins. I don't think that's riggery. Next, we have Luxx versus Salina to It's All Coming Back to Me Now. Very clear Salina win. Next is Jax versus Mistress. This is one of the ones that I, like, in one of my iterations of this, had them both just win. Because I think this is the closest lip sync to me of the first 5. They both did a completely different approach. I think they both worked. I think they both did an amazing job. And I hate that one of them has to lose. But I think that Mistress winning, you know, it's not rigged. So Mistress wins. And the last lip sync is Anetra versus Sasha to I'm in Love with a Monster. And Sasha wins. Okay, cool. So nothing changes from that first section. But now we're left with a 2-person lip sync and then a 3-person lip sync, which we hate. So the 2-person lip sync is Malaysia versus Spice to Don't Go Yet by Camila Cabello. And neither of them wins. I don't think either of them wins this. It's not a good lip sync. Neither of them know the words. And I think it's fair to say, you both did not win this lip sync. Go back in line. That's what we're going to do. I think that's valid. For the 3-person lip sync, Luxx versus Anetra versus Jax, I know that Anetra got the most votes when I did the poll. But to me, Luxx very clearly won this lip sync. The queens thought it. I think it. The judges thought it. And I think this really comes down to just Anetra not connecting to the song. Like, Luxx, when I'm looking at Luxx's face, she is doing that song. Anetra is doing a wonderful, fun, iconic performance, but it could be to any song. Like, she doesn't connect to that song like Luxx does. So to me, Luxx very clearly won that lip sync. And we have a bottom 4. We have Malaysia, Spice, Anetra, and Jax, who have yet to win a lip sync. And now it's like, what is going to happen? right? I think, obviously, they're not just going to have Malaysia and Spice Part 2, and they're not going to have Anetra versus Jax Part 2. So they're going to get paired up in a different way. And whichever way it goes, whether it's Malaysia versus Anetra and Spice versus Jax, or Malaysia versus Jax and Spice versus Anetra, Anetra and Jax win those lip syncs, and we get a bottom 2 of Malaysia and Spice. And they're lip syncing to Finally by Cece Peniston. And I think Malaysia wins. And I think Spice goes home. And this feels like a very fair version of a Lollapalooza. It's not as exciting because the last lip sync is between the two weakest lip syncers, but it's more realistic. So that is what I had happen. If you disagree, you disagree. There's a million ways this could go, and trust me, I've done them all. So it wouldn't shock me if someone wanted one of those other ones to be the real one. So whatever. This is just what I think. This is just what I chose. And Spice is gone. So now we have Jax going into the crystal ball. Looking at Jax's first design challenge, I think that she did a good job. I think that was a good garment. There was a couple fit issues, sure, but I think that she made a lot of stuff. She had a whole concept. I think that that was a good look. So I don't think Jax is really going to be in trouble in this crystal ball when it comes to, like, will she be bottom 2? Now, we don't know what her middle look looked like. She never released it. And she makes me think it's not great, you know? Like, or maybe it's so great that she's saving it for something else. Who knows? But we have seen her first look, the Racer Girl look. It's fine. Like, it's safe. It's whatever. So that's the information we have on Jax being in the crystal ball. What else would happen? What else would change? This is one of those episodes where, like, I could see Sasha or Mistress winning, and I would be like, yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. I see why Mistress could have won. I see why Sasha could have won. So I don't think it's rigged that Sasha won. So I still have that as what happens here. The top 3 does not change. Anetra and Mistress in the top, with Sasha winning. For the bottoms, it's rough. It's rough. Luxx Noir London, I think, is like that 4th place. She's safe. Good to go. Marcia, I think, is that 5th place. Like, one of her looks doesn't really work, but the other 2 really do. Cool. So that leaves the bottom 4. Malaysia, Salina, Jax, and Loosey. Malaysia, I ended up keeping safe because I think her looks are all fine. Like, nothing exciting in any 3 of the looks to me, but there's nothing wrong either. So I think that with people like Loosey, who has one look that is just bad, that puts Malaysia above her. And Jax, it's like, I feel like Jax could get red for that first look, and we don't know what that mystery second look is. But Jax didn't ever have the best looks on this season. Like, she had some good ones for sure, but she also had some ones that just didn't work super well. So I am going to put Jax low and Loosey and Salina in the bottom. Loosey and Salina both had one look that just did not work at all. And then in their last look, they each had, like, a small issue. Like, Salina's was the fit, again. The dress was beautiful, and if it fit, you know, perfectly, I think she's safe as fuck regardless, but it didn't fit perfectly. And Loosey, like, the top half is fine, but where she decided to do the little mermaid cut is just weird, and it cuts her off weird, and it just looks strange. So, unfortunately, in an episode where most people do really well, it comes down to those little things. So I think we get a Loosey versus Salina bottom 2. What the fuck happens then? I don't know. So they're lip syncing to That's What I Want by Lil Nas X. Weird song choice. Love this song, but it is not a great lip sync song. And that's what makes this so difficult. So we've seen them lip sync against each other before, and Loosey beat her in Running Up That Hill, and we know what Salina did to this song, which was more of a, like, theatrical, like, performance art piece. I don't know what happens. here. Loosey could pull out something different. Does Loosey beat Salina and That's What I Want? I don't know. And this is where we are going to do something we've never done in one of these videos. I'm going to really put on my Doctor Strange garb, my Eye of Agamotto, and we're going to look at both timelines because they're drastically different, and I'm interested to see what you guys think. So we will look at timeline 1, which is Salina sends Loosey home. And then we're going to look at timeline 2, which is Loosey sends Salina home. So I'm excited. This is really fun. So timeline 1, Loosey is out. Loosey is gone. Loosey is not around anymore. Salina won the lip sync. And we go into the final 8 50-50 interview challenge with Salina still there. Also Jax. This is one of the other most rigged episodes of the season. Because the queens got to watch each other as they went, they know how everyone did. And they said what we've seen in the edit is not close to what actually happened. They thought Salina and Loosey were the top 2 of this episode. So I put Sasha and Salina in the top with Luxx winning the challenge. I think Luxx did a fantastic job. And this is obviously just basing off what we've seen. That's all we can do. Luxx did a fantastic job with being given this insane situation of like being in this golf cart, riding through the lot, like love Connie going insane, like per usual, we love. She managed to both like keep up with the craziness, but also keep it like an interview moment. She had bits set up, like when she brought up her arch rival. Like Luxx, I think, nailed what this challenge was about, which was feed into the craziness of the situation, but also get an interview out of it at the same time. I think Luxx nailed that. So I would have given her the win here. Sasha, I think, had some great moments. Salina, we didn't get to see them, but apparently she had a lot of great moments. So I think that is the top 3. The bottom 3, I mean, it could have been a bottom 4. Marcia did not do well, did not understand Charo's accent, and it was all over her face. Mistress just, like, gave up. And Malaysia did as well. They both kind of just, they didn't live in the moment. They didn't try and make the best out of the situation. They just got uncomfortable, and they shut down. Jax, what does Jax do? I feel like Jax doesn't do great here. Jax was more on the quiet side. Jax, I think you could tell, got nervous at points. And I think even more than Marcia might struggle to deal with the stuff thrown at them. Especially if they're given Frankie Grande. Like, if they're replacing Loosey's spot here, then they're interviewing Frankie Grande. And Frankie's just so fun and bombastic. I think that Frankie outshines Jax just like he did Malaysia. So I think Jax would be bottom 2 here with Malaysia, and they're going to do single ladies. And I think Malaysia goes home. I mean, Jax is so good. And in this timeline, this is only her second bottom 2, so it's not like she's been in the bottom constantly or anything. I think that with this up-tempo song, Jax could really nail it. So Malaysia's still going to go home, unfortunately. And we go into the stand-up challenge where, I mean, things are obviously different because we don't have Loosey here. Loosey won this challenge with Luxx. This was the culmination of their storyline, or I guess part of it, until the last end of the season. So what changes? I think not a ton. I think that Jax just ends up with Luxx instead of Loosey. And I don't know if they're going to do as well as Loosey and Luxx did. Luxx is funny enough that I think that they could be okay. Like, I think it might be a situation kind of like we saw with Salina and Mistress, where one of them is better than the other. Luxx is better than Jax, but Jax isn't, like, flopping. It's not, like, bottom 2, because there were some bad performances here. The bottom 3 does not change. Sasha low with Anetra and Marcia in the bottom 2. Sasha got, of the 3, by far the most laughs. So even though there was definitely some cringy moments, she also had really good moments and had some jokes land, as well as having the best runway of this episode. So Sasha low, Marcia and Anetra bottom 2 to boss bitch, and Marcia goes home. You know, and this was not a great stand-up challenge, but if Loosey or Luxx aren't winning, Salina's winning. And I think in this case, Salina wins. This is her moment. She's wearing a look that is representative of her mother's journey emigrating to America. It's like everything's coming together. Her storyline, an episode where she really stands out. She says, I am done being in the bottom. I'm going to do a good job. And she does. I think this is Salina's winning moment if Loosey and Luxx are not, like, together in their little thing. So Salina gets the win for me here. The Rusical. This is kind of where I think there's a choice. And I can see why people would make either one. Either you do a double save with Anetra and Marcia, or you do a non-elimination at the Rusical. And I just think the non-elimination at the Rusical was more warranted. I think Marcia did amazing in that lip sync, but Anetra beat her. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, in the Rusical, I don't think anybody deserved to go home. I don't think anybody did a bottom-worthy performance. So I just feel like that's more justified. Here we have Jax. I don't know how Jax does with choreo, but she is a great dancer. I think that Jax does a good job. I think she does an okay job. I mean, there's no reason to think that Jax would, like, flop a Rusical. So I think that there should just be a top two, and everyone else is high. The top two for me was Anetra and Mistress Isabelle Brooks. And they get to lip sync for the win to Running Up That Hill. And this song is just right up Mistress's alley. You know, she's so good at telling a story with her face. And I think that's where Anetra struggles the most in her lip sync ability. So I think Mistress wins this challenge. And we move on to the makeover, where we don't know what Jax was going to wear. We don't know what Salina was going to wear. But Luxx did not well in this episode at all. Like, not well at all. And this is where I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments saying, we know you love Salina. You are a Salina, like, apologist, whatever. Salina has a very specific aesthetic. Even if it doesn't always nail, like, aesthetic-wise, she has a very specific aesthetic, and she has a very specific mug. And even if she puts her makeover partner in a look that isn't the most flattering in the world, I still think there would be family resemblance. Whereas with Luxx, there was no family resemblance at all. And Jax, I also think, doesn't have the most established aesthetic in the world, so I could see her struggling to get that family resemblance apart. Like, the makeover challenge is less about how pretty your outfits are and more about how do you nail that family resemblance. Unless when it doesn't. You know what I mean? Unless when it's rigged and it doesn't. I think when it comes to makeover, Salina wouldn't be bottom two. Because I think she has that aesthetic. She has enough of, like, a recognizable look that you could say, I see the family resemblance. You put her mug on someone, you put her person in a look that, you know, Salina would wear, I think she's fine. I could see them being low and being like, we don't love the looks. But I don't think she would be bottom two. And maybe you disagree. That's just what I think. Bottom two, Luxx and Jax to For the Girls by Haley Kiyoko. Thank you so much to RuPaul's Drag Race for showing me this song. I love this song. And Luxx ate this up. I mean, I think that Jax also could very easily eat this up, but Luxx ate this up. And at this point, this is her third bottom placement. This is Luxx's first. So I just think it kind of makes sense for Jax to go here and Luxx to continue on. And then we are at the top 5. And, like, I don't want to get hate in the comments. If it happens, it happens, whatever. But this is just what I think would happen. I don't see Salina struggling here. I don't see Salina struggling in a remix. And, you know, I think that people could say, well, Salina should just go home because it's top 5 and, like, who cares? Like, you just send home the one who isn't deserving to be top 4. But in this case, Salina has less bottoms. She has won a challenge. And when it comes to this specific challenge, I think she's fine. Like, I don't see her not doing well in a remix. She can dance. We saw from the remix she can pick up dance moves. She's a great performer. From the girl groups, she's great at emoting. I don't know why Salina would not stay. On top of all of that, the look that she wore for the finale, the quinceañera look with the cake piece taken out of her butt, that was her top 5 look, I guess, in this case. She would be wearing the best look on this runway. Like, by a mile, to be honest. So, Salina's not going anywhere. She's making top 4. And I'm not really sorry about it. I'm not. Go be mad in the comments if you want. But I'm fine. I'm living. I'm great. Bottom 2 is Anetra and Mistress. Mistress struggled with the choreo. Anetra struggled with just the verse and adding anything new to a drag queen verse. They lip sync till When Love Takes Over, and Anetra wins the lip sync. It sucks because Mistress is really confined by her gown. I think she said it was 60 pounds. So there's not a ton you can do about that. Unfortunately, Anetra just, she has the tearaway. She's able to make some more moments. Mistress has some good moments as well, like when she's punching Anetra. So Mistress does some stuff to keep up, but Anetra, I think, just does a little bit better. And why do they always pick the best songs ever that we've been waiting for to be the top 5 lip sync when, everyone's in gowns and they can't perform to their best ability? Drag Race, quit that. Give them a ballad and let's move on. That should have been running up that hill. So when it comes to the finale, we have Luxx, Salina, Anetra, and Sasha. I think regardless of what Salina does, the top 2 is going to be Anetra and Sasha's still going to win. So that is the first timeline. Salina Estitties makes top 4, period. The second timeline is if Salina goes home and Loosey stays in the competition. So looking at the 50-50, the only thing that changes from the last timeline is Loosey's in the top instead of Salina. Luxx gets the win, and Jax sends home Malaysia Baby Doll Fox. For the stand-up, Loosey and Luxx are still together, and Jax is now with Mistress. So Loosey and Luxx win. Everything else stays the same. Anetra and Marcia are in the bottom, and Marcia goes home. For the Rusical, nothing changes. Loosey's in the top with everyone else. Anetra and Mistress lip sync to Running Up That Hill, and Mistress wins the lip sync. The makeover, I think Loosey gets saved. I think that Jax does worse than Loosey. Loosey didn't really have that many issues. I just think I didn't love the looks. I think Jax runs into more issues, and Jax is in the bottom 2. Loosey's low. Luxx sends Jax home, and Loosey makes it to the Rumix, where, again, I don't see why Loosey would have an issue with this challenge. We've seen her do great in the girl groups. She's a singer. I'm sure she would be singing on this, and it wouldn't be live, so it would be fantastic. And I think she does fine. I don't see Loosey struggling here. And again, she has 2 wins. She's been in the top a lot. She's only had 1 bottom this whole time. So I think that the same thing happens. Anetra sends Mistress home, and Loosey makes top 4. And then the same top 2, Anetra and Sasha. Sasha wins the season. So Sasha winning is never in contention for me. That never changed in any of these timelines. But it's interesting to see how such little things can change. I feel like this is insane, this video. I'm not mad about it. I am not mad about it at all. I'm content with what I've delivered. I'm content with my final proceedings. I hope that I sold my case, at least, for why I believe these things, even if you disagree. And yeah, season 15, almost done. We have 1 more video coming next week, early next week. And then we will be moving on to All Stars content. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. What was the one thing that you disagreed with? What was my hottest take? What was my coldest take? Is that what we say? The opposite of a hot take is the coldest? The best thing I said? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts. Nicely, please. I beg of you. And here are the links to all of my social medias. Make sure you're following me on Twitter for all of my thoughts on All Stars 8 as we get into that. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, where I'm constantly posting polls on my stories about the newest episodes. We are T-minus 3 weeks until I go see Sasha Colby live, so expect some content from that as well. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for 60K. You guys are nuts. I love you so much. Thank you for tuning in for all this time. Thank you for staying with me for all of this time. And I'm just so happy that this is what I get to do. I am so eternally grateful. I think I mentioned this already. When we hit 75K, I will be doing a full drag transformation on myself. So if you want to see that happen and you're not already, maybe subscribe. Add to the cause. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.